All right, another episode of the Ducklegs podcast. This is one of your co-hosts, Jarod Aguilar, coming at you.
Oh, I'm supposed to say something.
I was trying to lead you into it, man.
I'm sorry, man. And Tyler Adams coming to you right here.
You forgot how to act on an intro. You haven't been on one.
Oh, I forgot what intros are.
Yeah, we're out here on campus doing it for the culture. But hey, so this episode is a Facebook Live interview with Dr. Jarod Carter.
Yes.
Man, we talk about his My Cash-Based Practice ebook and all things on how to create your own cash-based practice, whether you're trying to come out of school with it.
Straight out, or you've been practicing for
Yeah.
a while. It really gives a good blueprint about where to go from here, you know, where mind even goes into mindfulness towards the end.
It's a good mix of like some clouds and dirt, right? As
Yes,
we talked about
the clouds.
some philosophy and some like gritty work of like. So when you're out there looking at commercial real estate, look at triple nets, or at least if you're in Texas, that's something to
look at.
But yeah. So excuse the audio quality sometime during the interview. I know as we cut to it initially, there'll be a lawnmower going on outside the window.
Yes.
And yeah, you might need to like lower the volume when we speak and raise it up when J-Rod speaks because he's a little bit farther back. But regardless, thank you for tuning in. It's not that bad. It's good. It's good. Don't get it that much twisted. But yeah. So what we talked about? We talked about him wanting the reason why he didn't want to work his whole life in an insurance-based model, right? Which resonated with you heavily.
Yeah.
He gives us the 1 year goal of opening your cash-based practice checklist. Spoiler alert, get ready to hustle, as he says.
Yeah.
A checklist to have how he started off, how he did it without taking any business loans. Yeah, we got into like his own kind of struggle with it. So also, if you want to go check out Dr. Jarod's cash-based ebook, you can go to bit.ly/cashduck. That's /CASHDUCK. And you can go check out his cash-based book at that website. And if I think we'll get a percentage if you want to go ahead and make that purchase. That's totally up to you. And if you use the coupon code ducklegs, DUCKLEGS, you get $20 off. So that's there if you want to take it or leave it. There's also, you can go check out Jarod's podcast and a bunch of other free resources. If you want to be more frugal, there's a bunch of his free content out there as well.
Oh yeah.
Along with this podcast that you're listening to.
Yeah. That ends July 15th?
Yeah, the $20 off coupon code ducklegs ends July 15th.
2017. Just in case somebody's listening to this.
Right, in 2032.
2032, baby.
When the robots are running things. Yeah, keep fighting.
Damn robots.
Damn robots. That's a throwback joke to earlier that I threw in there. But yeah, so that's part one. It's been a long day at lab. We're recording this after 8 to 5 lab session, so we're a little tired. But enjoy part one.
Yeah.
There are a number of reasons why when I decided to start a practice, I went in the cash-based model, and that is the absolute, top reason. Is just, I'd worked in cash-based clinics before, and I'd worked in, or a cash-based clinic, and I'd worked in a few insurance-based clinics, and just like what you said, it's just you can't help but be motivated, and your boss, they can't be helped but be motivated in some way by what is actually going to pay the bills, And when that changes from insurance to insurance and patient type to patient type, you find yourself either being influenced or asked to, treat people in certain ways, or maybe don't spend so much time with UHC patients because you're only going to get $65 for the hour no matter what you do. That kind of stuff I just can't stand seeing, and I knew that I did not want to start a practice that was going to be subject to those kinds of pressures, and I wanted to create something where every session was 100% about what's clinically best for that patient, and
Now what the insurance says is clinically best?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, not what those non-PTs say PT treatment should be.
Okay.
And so that was the kind of the primary driving force for going the cash pay model direction, and that was about 7.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's going well.
Excellent. Sometimes we don't need to talk about this. Sometimes it feels like 7.5 years is so long. Somebody who hears about it, but really sometimes that kind of stuff goes by quick.
Yeah.
3 years by the time we get going. So let's talk about it. So we oftentimes shout out to Gary Vee. We always talk about like the clouds and the dirt, right?
Yeah.
So you have the clouds, you have your
I
dream.
don't know this analogy. Okay.
You don't know about the clouds and the dirt?
And I'm sure people listening might not. So what's this analogy?
So the clouds and the dirt, and I'm going to try to do it the best justice I can. The clouds are your dreams, your goals, your ambitions, the things that you live by. But then the dirt is the nitty gritty of it. Mm-hmm. Are you in there getting good at knowing the little things that make everything go instead of just talking about theory and stuff like that? So we've talked about the clouds. They set up your business. It's going to be beautiful. Let's get down into the dirt, right? And the only way I can think about that is like setting a deadline. So for everyone who's listening out there, whether you're a student that's going to graduate in a year or whether you're a practicing therapist that has always thought about it and you're thinking, oh man, I wonder what that would be like. Mm-hmm. Let's get down into the dirt of there. So this is theoretical. For me though, my dirt is 2018, August 2018. That's when I graduate.
So you graduate, okay.
That's when the dirt
That's
hit you in the face.
How about you?
Same time.
Okay, so August 2018. So that's just over a year.
Yeah, I think that's a good little model for a lot of people right there. Hey, I got 1 year
to make it happen.
Okay.
What's up there, Daryl?
I gotta get. What is your first thought that comes out when you hear, "Hey, you got 1 year"?
1 year as before graduation. Like, what's my thought about you specifically?
No.
Anyone thinking about.
Let's go
anyone
thinking.
Okay. Because I don't feel like you have to. You shouldn't feel pressured to open a practice right out of the gate.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
There are people that do that, and I'm not arguing against it by any means, but. But if someone was saying, all right, in 1 year I'm going to open doors, I'm going to start my practice. Yeah. I mean, first and foremost is just educating yourself on the differences from that compared to what you're used to. Now, as a student, you're not used to much, obviously. You'll do but you will, you'll do your rotations and see, what the majority of practices are like out there, most insurance-based practices. Some better than others, there's some great ones in the area that I refer to when people really need to use their insurance. So I'm not harping on the insurance-based model. It's just difficult to treat patients in the way that you really feel is best in that model, and not be kind of rushed from one patient to the next. So, but if you got a year, I would say first and foremost, just educating yourself. There, sites like mine and Aaron LeBauer's and a few others out there that have a ton of just free content, just totally free. I mean, I've got over 50-something podcasts and over 50-something blog posts and a bunch of videos. And if you were to consume all those, you would really have a good handle on what to expect and what you need to do to prepare. And then I would say, as you're doing that, as you're gathering all that information, you need to start making a list, like the getting started part of my ebook.
Yep.
You need to have a list like that and start to check off whatever boxes and get things in place, along the way, so that in the last 2 months you're not doing a ton of, you'll be doing a ton of little logistical things no matter what for, until you have a very well established practice and have a big team doing that stuff for you. So I would make that list and I would get ready to hustle. I mean, and here we are 7.5 years later. A year and a half ago, I decided to expand, to a multi-therapist practice from being solo. Kept it solo purposely for 5 years, working on the online business, because after about a year and a half into it, maybe 2 years, I was staying completely booked and not having to do any marketing. So it was all word of mouth based. And that word of mouth can work if you just plan on keeping things a solo practice. If you want to grow, you're going to have to use other marketing methods. But in terms of getting ready to hustle, and what I was saying was, right now in this last few months, like I've been working harder than I have since I started the practice.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. We're making a big push. We've got Ben. He's doing great, but his schedule's kind of still yo-yoing. And as soon as it seems like I hit these points very frequently where I'm like, sweet, I'm ready to get that second therapist, and I've even announced it, and I've got some good candidates who have applied. Mm-hmm. And then like as soon as I'm about to pull the trigger, his schedule will drop off. And I'm like, whew, I'm glad I didn't bring someone in.
Oh yeah.
Because we don't function on a contract basis like some cash practices will when they start to expand. Because revenue's not that high and it's a really scary thing, they'll just kind of do a pay per session and the person is like an independent contractor, and that's lower financial risk because if you're not paying them unless they're making you money, right?
Okay.
But the problem with that is that if you want to really scale up and have multiple therapists and have a service and a product that is very consistent and have a lot of say over, have complete say over how everything runs, you can't really do that with independent contractors. Also, when they see their income going up and down because it's not like they're immediately fully booked,
Mm-hmm.
making good money without providing that stability of a salary. And the stability to the business of saying like, look, this is how I want things done. You are a salaried employee. Without those two things, it's very difficult to scale. You're going to have a lot of turnover. You're not really going to have people that are fully bought into your mission and the way that you feel the practice should run. So luckily, as soon as I was going to pull the trigger a few times in the last year, Ben's schedule was like, no, Jarod, hold up. You've got some more foundation building to do, and that's what we've been working our ass off for the last, really year and a half. But we've put it into overdrive in the last 3 or 4 months because we've got a new practice manager. Our previous one just recently left. She started her own. She was a photographer, kind of side business, and that's taken off, which is great.
Cool.
And we're really excited for her. And so now I'm like, okay, I've really got to get to bringing on a second therapist and getting them busy financially by the end of the year, just because our overhead's pretty high right now. We've got like a room we're not using. Katie, the new practice manager, is getting paid a lot more.
Yeah.
And so like Ben and I are really hustling. We're doing a lot online.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys follow our clinic page, but like you'll see Ben's doing a lot of Facebook Live videos.
Okay.
And I've got a virtual assistant and also a marketing intern, and they're transcribing and making blog posts and all that kind of stuff, kind of Greg Todd style.
Yeah.
And then we're going hard on face-to-face networking. Last week I was at 5 different face-to-face meetings or events of some sort.
Really?
Yeah, and that's outside.
All involved surfing.
Yeah, every one of them. Every one of them. Yeah. I call that my network.
Right.
Network. Right.
Sorry guys, I have to go network.
Network.
Yeah.
Where are you going with that surfboard?
It's just, this is important.
Don't you worry about it.
Every time you come back from these networking events, you're drenched. You're in board shorts.
Yeah, it's a tough gig out there.
Tough gig out there, man.
I kind of want to back up a little bit. So, I feel like someone who hasn't started their own practice and everything, when you don't know too much about it, and even people that when they think they hear someone, I believe I should start my own practice, I feel like they immediately go to this thought of a big 5,000 square foot clinic. Yeah. Oh, you're going to open your own business, meaning you're going to go into millions of dollars of debt because you have to.
Yeah.
And you didn't do that, right? You talk about it in your book right there. When you started off your business, nothing like that.
Yeah,
no loans.
No debt, no loans.
Yeah, hey, do you hear that, people? No.
Yeah. Oh, I have plenty of student loans still.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
but
No business loans. No business loans.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can, it depends also on your niche. I mean, if you have a niche of like, you know, if you're going to be in the baseball niche, you know, you need some space to have, you know, guys be able to throw pitches and some, you know, so depends on the niche. But if you're just like a straight up manual therapist, outpatient orthopedic style manual therapist, I mean, you can do what I did, which was, I actually already had a massage table that when I bartended, I bought off somebody, and I did massages on the side for cash. Yeah.
Sounds a little shady, but
yeah, well, it was. No, it was great. No, but I bought this thing for like $200. I ended up using that same massage table for the first 5 years of my practice before I got this high-low, like a year and a half.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was way too long, but
how much do high-lows run?
This one was probably. What was this one? It was about $1,500.
$1,500 for a high-low.
Yeah, they're not all that much, but this one I got specifically because we do hour-long sessions. This is a total aside, but if you're going to be doing long sessions, you need to make sure that the face cradle is really comfortable. And all of the popular manual therapy high-lows, they have very hard face tables. They're just, people aren't usually laying on the PT table, you know, face down for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I got people laying down sometimes, you know, 30 minutes at a time before I'm getting them back up to retest the movement. So this is actually a massage. It's an Oakworks massage table, high-low table, right? So it has a very comfortable, you can see it over there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cushy faceplate. So anyways, back to it. Where was I?
Sorry.
Talking about how you had the standard.
That same foldable table I just put in my trunk, and I was just seeing clients at their homes at first. And then after a while, things got going enough. After maybe a month or two, I went ahead and did what's called a booth rental, which we talk about in the book as well. And there's some key things to know if you're going to do a booth rental, like with checking out a space, because I also, you know, I checked a few places out and I was like, ooh, that noise isn't going to work. Or I'm glad I was here when, you know, whoever else was practicing in the next room, because that's not going to work. Or so-and-so's doing moxibustion.
They're blowing leaves outside all the time.
Freaking lawn care everywhere. And so it's just, you know, there's a lot of things that you want to check out, but you can rent a space and just pay per hour of use, you know. So that was my next step. And then once I got to a point where clientele was steady enough that I was paying more on the per hour scale than I would to have rented outright my own room or my own space, then I got my first space. And that was like about a year and a half into it, probably.
Wow.
So another question, and this is a little bit more in the clouds, just to give someone an ease of mind there. Let's say I'm going to go in, maybe I'll take on a little bit of debt. How long would you say someone, before they start breaking even and start finding some good, you know, positive with the business, before you're thinking, okay, yeah, by 6 months, you should be starting to feel, 3 months, you should start to feel like, hey, things are chopping along? Or is it more like, hey, man, it's going to take you a year and a half till you're really feeling cool about things? Like, you need to saddle in and expect a year and a half.
Yeah.
Again, this is kind of theory. What if I were to say, hey, it's been 10 years and I still haven't? At what point are you thinking, hey, man, you need to switch your game up? Something's going wrong there.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and the answer to that is going to be different in different scenarios.
Yep.
Like, I've had people on my podcast who started really low overhead and therefore were literally profitable in the first month or two. You know,
excellent to know, right?
You know,
that's there are people that did that.
Not to say that profit was huge and enough to live on, but like literally profitable in the first month or two. And then there are some that have reached out to me and be like, man, I've been doing this for 2.5 years now. I'm still struggling to keep my head above water. And I've gone into debt at times, you know, to make ends meet. And so I've heard, you know, I've really seen the whole span. I mean, if someone's been at it for, you know, 3 years and they're still struggling and they're just a solo practitioner, then yeah, something's probably not right there. And maybe not just with them or their style. Maybe it has to do with demographics in the area. But most likely it's not a demographic thing. It probably has something to do with their doing or not doing. I mean, quite frankly, if you're a solo practitioner, you can do it on word of mouth. Again, I would say you're better off putting a number of irons in the fire in terms of your patient generation, whether it's online methods, face-to-face networking. Networking was my biggest initial thing, then doing blog posts and videos have really paid off big long term. And then just your own, your patients basically, telling everyone. So I would say, if someone's at it for 3 years and they're still struggling, then something needs to be added or changed at that point. But I would not, just to kind of go back, I would say no one out there should go into it expecting to be fully booked in 6 months or highly profitable. Because if you go into it and that's your plan, then you're probably not going to save for, the year or two that you actually potentially could take. So I would say plan for the worst.
Plan for the worst, right?
And going back to your original question of, I've got a year, what can I do? I mean, if there's any way you can actually start really living lean now to save money, to have, if you can have 3 or 6 months of just living expenses saved so that you don't have to freak out if you're not making money right away, then you can maybe avoid having to go into debt, take loans and stuff like that. So I would not expect, now some people do it, but I would not expect for the ball to be rolling in less than 6 to 12 months, like really strong rolling, If you hustle really hard and you have great skills, and you're getting people great results, then you're going to start to see things, churn a bit and not churn. Sorry, that's the wrong word. But you're gonna see the ball start to roll probably within 6 months or so. And that kind of goes back to the something that came up earlier about opening a practice right out of school. I know that plenty of people do it, and I'm not discouraging people from doing it. What I would say is you got to know that first impression you make with any patient is a very lasting one. And if when you come out of school, you're not as confident with your diagnoses, nor nearly as confident with your hands. And I know you guys are at St. Augustine, so you're probably going to go in the manual therapy route, really just dropping elbows all over the place.
That's what you need today.
That's what Paris taught us.
Yes.
Just yank on the ankle.
Right.
No, but I mean,
that's all you need.
you really, you develop so much confidence in the hands, and people can feel that confidence, and not just feel that, and experience that confidence in your knowledge base, in your manual skills,
right.
But also, when you come straight out of school and you're working on someone and they don't detect that, that person that would have maybe been a raving referral that could have been huge for your business, they leave in 2 visits because it's like, this is a newbie. And again, plenty of people make it work. I'm not saying it can't work, but if you're really thinking long game, which I would highly recommend, get a really badass mentor. Don't worry as much about what you're getting paid. I know there's a lot of drive on asking for more and more, which we can talk about salaries and stuff if y'all want to, but get a really great manual therapy mentor that is going to take you under his or her wing and really show you the ropes and let your skills develop and get some confidence in your hands, and then a year or two in, you are going to have so much more impact on every patient, and therefore it's going to be less of a struggle to get to that point you were talking about of, the ball's really rolling. If you come straight out of school, you're probably running a higher risk of that time frame being a lot longer and getting into kind of some scary financial situations versus if you just take a year and just hone your skills and get your hands on a lot of patients and see a lot of diagnoses and syndromes, and then then go for it.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Again, if you guys have the plan to go straight out of school, I'm not saying don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying expect it to be a little longer of a time period before things really pick up.
For sure.
Don't act like a rookie. Don't let them smell that you're a rookie.
Yeah. And you can use a little fudge on your diploma and
just
backdate it a little bit. I've been out for 3 years.
Yeah. Oh, so someone inevitably always asks that, how long have you been doing this? You're like, well,
long time.
You're my second patient.
Yes. Have you ever had to say that? Have you ever had to? How do you handle that conversation?
I remember. I can't remember. I mean, when I came out of school, was it 2005? Yeah. So I mean, that was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So I can't remember if my first time someone said, "How long you been doing this?" and I just say, "A month."
You're number 5.
Yeah. But maybe you're a baller though, and you can be like, "Actually, I'm still pretty new." And they're like, "Well, you're great." And you're like,
Yeah.
that's right. Thanks. I've been working really.
No shit.
Yeah. I've been every Tuesday night. I'm there working, during school. Okay.
We do. I think we have a question.
Yeah. Let's see what that's about. Let's see what.
Let's
we got
see.
Here.
Oh, I got it. It's Peyton Sykes. What's up, Peyton?
Oh, Peyton.
In the beginning, Jarod, when you were going into people's homes, how was your business structure set up? I.e., LLC, DBA, etc., and what resources into the business legal side did you look into?
Okay, so a couple things there. I was in Texas. Actually, you can't, if you're a licensed professional like PT and do that, you can't, if you're going to do the LLC structure as opposed to like an S corp or C corp, you have to be a PLLC, and that's just in Texas. So that question would actually be best asked of an accountant in terms of what tax benefits and what does my state require. But I was a PLLC, and in terms of going into patients' homes, you want, one big thing is obviously you're going to have liability and malpractice insurance, but you want to have what's called a general liability rider, RIDER. And that helps to protect you no matter where you are, whether it's in your own clinic or elsewhere.
Okay.
That's some dirt.
That's
that's
some
good.
dirt. We need some more.
Yeah.
We need Dr. Sykes in here right now.
That's in the book.
That's in the book.
What book is that?
What book is it?
What book is that
Hey,
called?
we got to tell them where they can get the book from you guys.
I haven't put the comment in yet.
Oh, you haven't put the
Okay.
comment in.
Okay.
I'm going to do that right now.
So it's, if you want to check out the book we're talking about, it's my story on, how I got started and how I built my solo cash-based practice. Basically the first kind of year or two of hustle and all the logistical things and all the marketing things and everything I did to kind of get it going as quickly as I did. It's called very creatively My Cash-Based Practice.
My cash-based
And
practice.
you can get it through these guys at
Ducklegs.
bit.ly.
Yep.
So bit.ly/cash duck.
We just put it in the comments section. So that was supposed to be earlier on. I dropped the
We got
ball.
a couple of shares.
Someone said that you're just doodling. You're not.
Yeah, right. I am. That was Daryl. He's
It's
right.
not notes.
I'm just drawing.
That's awesome. So yes, if you guys are, if anyone listening live or later on, if you're interested in that book, you can check out that website will take you straight to the page. It gives all the details of what's included in the book. So
Excellent.
all right,
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
More dirt. Let's go dirt. I
Yeah.
wanna go dirt.
We need some
Stay
dirt
dirty.
there.
Need some dirt. Any questions from all the beautiful listeners? I
do.
saw Bree. I saw Christian. Nate. What is up, friends?
Yeah, I am very curious to see what the listeners are out there because, I have my series of questions, but I don't want to, you're ever like, come on, just ask that one question.
We're gonna get into some dirt. We're about to get into some dirt.
Jared, what you got one, Jared?
I'm gonna put this comment in.
Okay.
You.
Keep it going there.
Yeah, man.
So square foot, price per square foot. What are you thinking? What, just in general, what's your brain going at? I know every place is different. Everything is so different. You know what? I want to back up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use any sort of marketing research software or anything like that? I've seen
marketing research.
like I've seen certain like software where they pull up a map and it shows these people make this much money in this area of town and it's this density and it shows you where your hot spots are. Yeah, demographics.
Demographics.
Do you use that kind of stuff?
Didn't, just because I knew. I mean, here in Austin, you kind of know the different areas where the higher income families are gonna be, and so yeah. I mean, I chose this area, but I do want to say and those who have listened to me and read the stuff. I mean, read my stuff a lot. They've heard this plenty of times. It's not about the pocketbook as much as it is about mindset. So we really have a lot of people that you would not consider wealthy in any way. They actually kind of just make it month to month, but they're like hardcore runners or hardcore triathletes, or they're really just hardcore about whatever that activity or that sport is, and they are willing to pay out of pocket, even though they have insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, quite often they have it.
Yeah.
Most of our patients, like 98%, have insurance. So they'll go out of pocket because they know they're going to get an hour of one-on-one care with a great manual therapist here. So that was just an aside. But yeah, I mean, it is smart if you can be in a higher income area. If you're going to do a cash practice, it only makes sense.
Yeah.
But do know that's cash practices the patients are not just a bunch of rich people. That's not the case.
Yeah.
So price per square foot, just a little bit on that. Obviously, it's going to be different in every market.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that for the listeners who might be looking, make sure you know if what you're quoted is the all-in price per square foot, which with something called triple nets, which is basically like taxes and I can't remember, but it's called triple net. Okay. So you have to ask, is this inclusive of triple net? Because some buildings will include it all in just one fee, and some will give you a number, and then it's another number, which is triple net. And you also want to make sure that you look and say, all right, well, what is my share of the common area? Your share of the common area, like common area would be like the hallways, the bathrooms, out, all that kind of stuff. If you're in a building like this with multiple suites, you need to make sure that they're not charging weird amounts for the common areas, or they have really high percentages of the building being called common area.
Mm-hmm.
So there, I'd say getting a commercial realtor to help you is absolutely key, because they're going to know to look at that stuff. Don't go into that scenario thinking you're gonna, and as a renter, you're not paying them anyways. So just like if you're gonna sell your home, right? You're gonna pay 3% to your realtor and 3% to the realtor of the buyer. But if you're buying a home, you don't have to pay anyone anything, right? Your realtor gets paid by the seller. So similarly in commercial real estate deals, the owner of the building, if you're renting, the owner of the building is going to pay the two, his realtor and your realtor. So you're not saving money or doing yourself any favors by not using a commercial real estate broker to help you find a space and look at all the details of the contract.
That is huge.
That's huge.
Let's keep running on that outsourcing stuff like that. We talked earlier.
He's like, well, I thought it was my turn.
Yeah, I'm just blown away by the most random thing. Hey, when you go to look for a space, there's something called triple nets.
Yeah, right. Okay.
What? Things to know. It's stuff you learn along the way, or if you're seeking the information that's out there.
Yeah.
There's a question.
Does cash-based work best outpatient ortho, or can it be done with pediatrics or neuro as well?
What's up, Jillian?
It works in all of those, and I've had people on my podcast in all of those realms. So most commonly you see it utilized in the outpatient orthopedic realm, but there are some awesome examples of neuro cash PTs. There's one here in Austin that's been on my podcast. I've got one she works with a lot of cancer patients. She's also here in Austin. She's been on the podcast. And then our friends over in the USC, kind of Southern California, there's a big neuro practice there. And then pediatrics, I've had a couple I know of that have done well in that realm. I mean, look, there are a lot of people out there that would never go out of network to get what they would consider the best care for themselves, but immediately would do so if it's for their kids.
Yeah.
We see that a lot, with high school athletes. We don't really do peds here, but with high school athletes, I've had plenty of parents that are in the room when I'm treating little Johnny, and I'm talking to them about their shoulder problem, and it's like, well, man, I can fix that, and they got every excuse in the book, and you can tell it's like they're just not going to do it.
Mm-hmm. The parent,
but they will pay
for their
kid. So pediatrics, totally, it works. Even though in neuro and peds you see a lot more of these chronic conditions that need a lot of care over time, it still works. There's a lot of great examples of it working.
Yeah.
That's a funny like psychological experiment because we were talking about this in the
Yeah,
car.
we just were.
Tyler just chunked out $400 for his dog at the vet.
Yeah.
And it's like, you would be hesitant to pay that on yourself.
Yeah.
For something.
But the second, she wasn't, I could see something was going on with her eyes. The vet gave a great examination. I said, thank you. Here's,
Yes.
and because she's my little dog, and
Yeah.
that's so true.
Yeah, and that's how it works here too. If you can get them in the door and prove that you're willing to listen,
Yeah.
that you understand what they're dealing with, you've pointed out in a very specific way what is causing their pain, and you've continued to bring them back to the things that it's limiting them from doing that they love to do and that they can't do anymore, that they're limited in doing.
Yeah.
And you keep kind of referencing those things, and this is what I would say we would do to get you back to XYZ, right? And just kind of bringing it back to that over and over. Man, that same person that probably who maybe had seen online, saw like a $165, screw that, and just clicked away.
Yeah.
If you can capture that lead and nurture the relationship to get them in for a free consultation, and then really prove your worth to them and really have them sold on the idea of this person is going to, or this group is going to get me back to playing soccer every weekend. There you go. All of a sudden you've got someone who probably would have shied away from it, but you've built that bridge, you've built a relationship, and now they're willing to pay $400 for their little dog because
You're my little dog, right?
It's the V word,
what kind
right?
of dog do you have?
It's a little shepherd thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cute dog.
I'll show you pictures later.
But it's the V word, right? It's value, right? That's what you gotta bring them. We got Greg Todd on. Winning podcast. It says.
What do you say?
Winning podcast.
Yes.
GT. I kind of want to come back to that outsourcing stuff because you get people like Greg Todd and yourself, and you do hear that I gotta hustle, and you're ready for it. You're ready for the hustle. But sometimes I feel like you can get a little deep into the weeds, or at least I feel, and you spend forever doing becoming an attorney.
Yeah. Or
just
setting up your website, or
all of a sudden you're like, hey, you have to learn how to be a website engineer just to do the things you want to do. Are there any, and this is a little bit of, are there any of those areas that you're like, hey, just outsource that and go on? Just outsource your website and go, or real estate. Go hire a realtor. That's dumb for you to sit there. Anything that immediately.
Obviously, the realtor is free for you if you're renting, so definitely that's one. But I would say if you really want to cover all your bases, outsourcing your legal and making sure you've got a good attorney, especially if you're in the cash pay model and you're going to be, ever seeing Medicare patients, that kind of thing, you need to have an attorney go through that stuff with you. And then, and you can give them my ebook on that.
What's that ebook again?
It's a different ebook.
Oh,
It's a Medicare ebook.
Okay.
You guys have it.
Yes.
It'll come in handy when you start your cash practice. But outsourcing legal, and I would say web design as well. I mean, I started, my first year I did have my own website that was just a regular WordPress website, with a maybe 10 hours of watching YouTube videos and plugging through it. You can have basically like a placeholder business card style website that has like a decent looking theme. If you're tech savvy at all, you can do that if you want to. But if you want to have something that's really going to produce patients for you, you need to have like the ability for them to kind of opt in for some sort of information from you, or to reach out, click here and then they're taken to a web form. That kind of stuff. It's higher level stuff that you're not going to figure out on your own. You kill yourself trying. So I think most web design, if you can swing it at all financially, just hire it out.
Yeah.
We have a hard time just figuring out the Weebly.
Exactly.
And you can get into the weeds, man. You kind of get on it, and then all of a sudden,
and then you're like, I'm 5 hours into this. I don't screw that. I'm doing this, and then 10 hours later, it still doesn't function the way. And you have to think about your time in terms of not just the hours, but also like, what is your time worth? Was that 15 hours better spent trying to figure out how to be a web designer, or would it have been better spent at 7 different networking events in your area.
Yeah.
I mean, the choice is very clear. I can guarantee you that. And so, hit those networking events, do what you know how to do, and do the things that you really need to work on, and outsource the rest as much as you possibly can. If you're bootstrapping, sometimes you gotta, figure some things out on your own. Maybe like the easy stuff, like how to get a good video on your phone, right, and then get that on YouTube. I mean, that's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
Some people would still struggle with that, but really, like the higher level stuff, like actual web design, just don't
let it go.
Don't mess with it. Yeah.
I'm gonna scroll over to the questions.
Okay.
Let's see what we got. Jeff Daniels, if you don't mind, can you talk about your rates for services starting out versus now? And also, GT, ask Jarod if he wants to present at SSPT Live 2018.
Absolutely.
He can take
I'm
one
there.
of our spots.
I'm there.
What's up, Matt?
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, let's go over
Sounds
this.
like fun.
How much but that is in the ebook too, right?
Yeah.
Your rates for services starting out
So
versus
rates
now.
for services starting out, and I'd always, up till recently, just done hour-long sessions. And so, even including the eval, so I just kept it simple because it made scheduling easier. Like if when you do an hour and a half eval, and then hour follow-ups or something different, then it just starts to kind of throw a wrench in things sometimes when you're trying to schedule out and keep a consistent schedule. So hour-long sessions, and I always charge the same for the eval and the follow-up. Some people like to charge more for the eval. I just think of it as like a per my time kind of thing. Some say, oh, but you're using your diagnostic skills in the eval, and it's like, well, yeah, I'm using my diagnostic skills in every session.
Good point.
Yeah,
it's a great point.
And they're also getting a lot more actual hands-on treatment in the follow-up sessions because we spent all that time, running through an eval. So I just said, you know what, same time for scheduling and same price. So I started at, 120. 120 was where I started at for that hour session. And then I went up to 150 after a couple years, 3 years. And then about 3 or 4 months ago, we went up to 165. And we added a half-hour session option.
Okay.
And that's 110. So it's per unit of time much more expensive if they want to do the half hour. And some do, but what's great, and this was something that Paul Goff got me to do. He was like, look, right now this is how much it costs, and this is your one option. It's an hour, 165. Yes or no. Now we've changed it to you've got this option or this option. Which one do you want?
Yeah.
Which works best for you?
Which works best for you? Which one do you want? It's not yes or no. Just brilliant. And if they want to go with the half hour, that's fine. We make more per minute at that rate anyhow.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that answers the
Yeah,
question.
I think that's a great answer. Great answer.
Did you ever struggle with determining a price initially?
Didn't struggle with it, but it is a really common question, and that's covered in the book as well.
Ah, okay.
In terms of doing your market, you were talking about market research, but one of the things you do want to look at is are there other cash-based PTs in the area, and how much are they charging? Are there massage therapists in the area, which I'm sure there will be? How much are they charging? How much are chiropractors charging per unit of time? And just get an idea of where you want to be in that mix. Obviously, I didn't want to be charging any less or even close to a massage therapist. I want to make sure that if a massage therapist could be charging $100 an hour, I'm not going to be charging $95. That's for damn sure, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think at the time that was about what I was finding. There might have been some spas that charged a little more than $100, but the massage therapists that were on their own, they weren't even close to the 120. And there were some cash-based PTs that were charging much more than that. And I worked for one of them, and I felt like it was a little bit much. It was like $365 for the first hour.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just felt like it was a bit much. But anyhow, that neither here nor there. So yeah, you look at where different practitioners are in your area, and then just kind of decide where you want to be and how much you feel like your time is worth.
see if do we have any questions up there.
I'm gonna hop behind mine and just
Yeah.
So you just make sure it's still on. Okay, good. It's still on.
Any questions on yours?
No, man. I haven't really built up my Facebook Live audience.
That's the business one.
Get plenty of I get plenty of post live views. But yeah.
If we could, and feel free to throw out questions.
We can.
We can. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, that was back in the day, right? That was 05.
Yeah.
It's a much different healthcare landscape now, or it could be.
Yeah, it's ever shifting.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Unlikely to shift in our favor, I can tell you that much.
No?
No. The numbers, it's mathematics. I think we talked about this in our
We
last
and
podcast.
I do want to shout out, if you didn't, we need to almost post that clip. That was a very big thing. I mean, let's go over it real quick. Mathematics of what's happening in the future.
And I'll try to just make it real brief.
Yeah, this is crazy.
But, so private insurers tend to follow the lead of Medicare, right? So if Medicare makes cuts, then it's like they're justified in making cuts. They've actually led Medicare in how much they've cut for PT services over the years. Medicare has, with some codes, matched inflation, so like going up like 3% a year, and some it hasn't even matched inflation. And this is that over the past 5 to 10 years, I've ran the numbers, this is in a time, these last 10 years, when the baby boomers hadn't even come close to fully exiting the workforce, nor have they now. And I'd have to look at the book and the presentation that I did on it for the exact numbers, but in general, we are looking at a doubling of the Medicare population in the next 20 years, okay? And what's happening is that back in 1965, I think there was like 4-point-something workers in the workforce for every one Medicare beneficiary, so paying into the system versus taking out. And then I think now we're at like 2-point-something for everyone. And in like 20-25 years, it's not going to be 1-to-1, but it's going to be close.
Yeah.
And at that point, okay, so that's that scenario, right? Well, the Medicare and Social Security systems together have already had years where they've paid out more than they've taken in.
Wow.
Okay, so we've already had years of non-profitability in its current state. So when you extrapolate that to 25 years from now, when there's even more people drawing from it and even less people comparatively contributing, there's no way the system will sustain itself in its current form, paying practitioners and for medications, but paying for medical services what they do now. There's mathematically no way that major cuts are not on the way for what we get for our services.
We're talking Medicare?
Medicare, yeah. This is the Medicare
but private insurance follows Medicare.
Yeah, they're very influenced by Medicare. Now, hopefully, our various fields can kind of gather together their forces and hold rates at a decent amount. But PT, all in all, has been very unsuccessful in doing so. I mean, average reimbursement rates from private insurers for our services, our various services, have dropped almost across the board, if not across the board. And again, that's without even this big influence of Medicare making huge cuts. So whether you're looking at Medicare or private insurance, I personally don't see any way around the situation getting even worse, no matter what kind of magic pill or bill that Congress might be able to come up with.
Yeah. Unless all the baby boomers die immediately.
Unless there was like...
we can only
it's just...
That's interesting where your head went there.
Yeah, I got a little dark.
What are you playing?
A little dark.
That's
So what we need to do is kill all these people.
We'll be great. The future's bright.
He's just gonna keep the ball rolling.
It'll be like the giver, right? Once you hit 65, we'll take you to a little room.
Now his doodles have become very...
Yes.
We're seeing big mushroom clouds.
Yes.
How do we lure all 65 and older into deep Nevada area?
We build one golden corral to feed them all.
No, that's awful.
Man.
Golden Corral, Jeff Foxworthy, and I don't know.
That's something else. Something else
else.
that attracts them.
Yeah.
God, that's hilarious.
That's a little too much there.
What's up, Matt? What's up, Scott? Sorry about that.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be a downer, but I'm just telling people, like, if you think you can have a practice that exists completely on reimbursement from third-party payers, you're in for a very rude awakening. And if you don't start to make changes now or plan for those changes and figure out how to introduce at least some wellness and fitness and the preventative services that you can do on a cash pay basis, even if you're going to do all your PT via insurance or third-party payers, I think that there are many amazingly successful practices that are still doing amazingly well in that model. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying that the trends are that it's going to be harder and harder to make it work without at least supplementing with some cash pay revenue. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're trying to warn people about.
And that's good for the standard individual to know as well what's happening with their insurance and things like that, because they're probably going to feel part of that. I mean, there's a good chance that Jerry Durham talks about that all the time. Of like, you need to know what you're in.
Yeah.
You can't just alleviate all responsibility. Oh, that's my insurance, and I don't know what they're doing. That's their problem. Like, no, that's your. You need to know what's going on there.
Paying more and more for it every year, and most people have no idea about their benefits. It's amazing how we have people call and if they don't know we're cash pay, and they're like, oh, okay, you don't take Blue Cross. Okay, well, how much is it? Okay, well, it's $110 for a half hour or $165 for a full hour. Ooh, yeah, I think I need to stick with my insurance. And I said, well, let me ask you this. And this is actually good information. This will be a good kind of script for people to use. Let me ask you this. Do you have a high deductible? Well, yes, I do. I have a $5,000 deductible. So have you hit it? Are you anywhere close? No, I've only $500 into it. Okay, I say, well, do you understand that most likely, and you need to check with your insurance company on this, but most likely, until you hit that deductible, you can go somewhere for PT that takes Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they'll see you 2 or 3 times a week and send all these bills off over that 6 or 8 weeks that they see you. And then when insurance says, hey, they haven't hit their deductible yet, these bills get sent to guess who?
You, the individual. They come right back to you, right?
And guess how much most of those bills that are being sent for that hour that you're hanging out in the insurance-based practice, pulling on stretch cords and hanging out with the tech. No offense to people out there listening. I know I piss people off when I say that.
No, a lot of offense.
That is the unfortunate,
standard.
Standard.
Yeah.
I've worked as a tech.
Yeah, and so guess how much that bill is. Like,
I actually don't know.
It's like $200 plus in a lot of cases. Now, oftentimes they will then give them, they'll give you they'll kind of cut off, and say, okay, well, you can just pay our cash pay rate and we'll write off the rest. But that just depends on the practice. So maybe the cash pay rate at an insurance-based practice is $100, $125, $150. Mm-hmm. The take-home point that I try to present is like, if you have a high deductible, which so many people do these days, is that until you hit that deductible, you're likely going to be paying the full bill that is sent to insurance until that happens. And that bill is often going to be at or above the $165 you would spend here while getting an hour of one-on-one care with a doctor of physical therapy who's certified in manual therapy. Mm-hmm. And let's say they have hit their deductible, right? It's like, okay, great. Well, do you know what your copay would be or what benefits are covered? Because a lot of times, PT benefits as a whole are just getting crappier and crappier, coverage-wise. So whether it's bad coverage in that you're not covered beyond 5 visits, or it's, we're only going to cover, X percentage, 60%, mm-hmm. You pay the other 40, or it's, okay, we cover everything except your copay, but that copay is $75 a visit. Okay, well, guess what? You go twice a week there, you go once a week here, right? Because we usually see people once a week. Mm-hmm. Not always, but usually. And most traditional, insurance-based practices, you're in there at least twice a week, mm-hmm. right?
Oh, yeah.
So then again, it becomes more of a wash on the financial side of things. So those are all talking points now that what's happened in the last 3 or 4 years with the Affordable Care Act and basically not enough people paying in, and the insurance companies being like, whoa, we're not going to lose money. Mm-hmm. We're going to jack everyone's rates and deductibles. And that's what happens. Mm-hmm. But the public as a whole, as Jerry was saying, does not know that. And so cash-based practice has actually become an easier model to have success in if you can get that message across. If you are on the phone, or your staff, whoever's on the phone, can eloquently convey that they need to check, because sometimes they are going to come out ahead financially, but these days quite often it's a wash, or you actually save money coming here, and you're probably going to see us a lot fewer times, less time away from work, etc. Away from family.
I think Peyton might have something.
Yeah, let's.
Dr. Peyton. Let's see. Which begs the question, why pay a premium for absolutely zero service provided? # change the mindset.
So why pay a premium if he's still on? Why pay a premium for what? For your health insurance? Or why pay a premium for, like, pay high amounts for like insurance-based PT? Or
Yeah, I think he's saying, why would you go? I think he's saying, you go to those places and you're paying a lot of money for not the best stuff sometimes. Ooh, I shouldn't say that. That's
say it.
No, in a way, you do want to kind of correct yourself, because there are some really bad ones, and there are also some really great ones. I mean, we've got people we refer to. The first practice I worked at, I think they're still seeing just 2 patients an hour. Manual therapy. I mean, they're fantastic. So there's a lot of them that are still doing it very right. And providing a great service, and then there are those that give us a terrible name.
And they just need to know. People need to know that. I think so. You were talking about like deductibles and stuff like that, and I've heard often in the medical field that, when do all the surgeries happen? Well, they happen towards the end of the year because everyone's met their deductibles, yada yada yada. Is there a trend? And the same thing in like the fitness world, right? Oh, New Year's hit, you see a big spike. Are there waves and trends like that in the PT world? Is it pretty consistent?
I think in the general PT world, and you'd probably want to ask other practice owners this along the way, but I think that a lot of people do see a slowdown at the beginning of the year when deductibles are reset. We don't really experience that because everyone's cash pay anyways. But at the beginning of the year, all your high deductible patients are cash pay patients, like I just described, right? So people say, my practice isn't cash based, and it's like, you might be in network with insurances, but for all your patients that are hitting their deductible, I mean, they're paying out of pocket. It's a cash pay patient until they hit the deductible. So we're all cash based in some way.